Hey everybody. So today we are going to learn how to make pastry cream, which is kind of an elevated custard. And it will teach you about a couple of techniques that are important for making custards and puddings and fillings and stuff like that. One is tempering, which is you're mainly using egg yolks in a custard, egg yolks and a hot milk combination. And what you want to do is tempering is slowly adding the hot mixture into the yolks to bring up the temperature, and then you can combine everything and cook it so it thickens. If you do that too quickly, or if you were to just dump the egg yolks in, it would turn to scrambled eggs and you wouldn't have a custard. You would have a lumpy mess. So we're gonna go through tempering, and then pastry cream can be used as a filling for cakes. You can put it between cake layers. It is what typically fills eclairs. And I'll show you in a later video how to make the dough for something like an eclair or a cream puff, pâte à choux dough. You can use it for a bunch of different things. You can just eat it right out of the bowl, like at least one, if not 1 to 3 members of my family do. So we are gonna work over the stove today. It's a really simple recipe, not a lot of ingredients, not a lot of time. So let's get going. Okay, so here we have our setup for our pastry cream. We have heating in here 2 cups of milk, a 1/4 cup of sugar, some vanilla, and a pinch of salt. And we are heating this to a kind of a medium simmer, so we'll start to see bubbles around the outside. It's over kind of a medium-high heat. And then in this bowl, we have 4 egg yolks and a 1/4 cup of cornstarch that we're gonna whisk together. And cornstarch, you remember, is a thickener, a plant-based thickener. And that's what we're gonna use here to get our custard to thicken up. What we're gonna do is heat this milk up, and then we're gonna use some of the hot milk to kind of temper these yolks, to bring them up to temperature, and get them to start to thicken and start to cook without becoming so hot that they become like a chocolate or a scrambled egg type of thing. So I'm also gonna put about another 1/4 cup of sugar in this mixture. So let's get that mixed in. It doesn't have to be, there's gonna be liquid that goes in it. So if it's gonna be a paste, like it's kind of being a pain for me, you can just leave it at that. And when the hot milk goes in, it'll start to come together. So we're gonna leave this like this. And then we're starting to see this simmer of our milk. You see there's starting to be some bubbles rising up along the sides. Starting to get that. So I'm gonna turn the heat to a medium heat for that. This is a good heat for that. So what we're gonna do is take just a tiny bit of this milk, a 1/4 of a ladle, and we're gonna put it in with our mixture here, our egg yolk mixture, and just start breaking that up a little bit. It's not enough to turn it totally to a liquid. We're just kind of introducing a little bit at a time. And we're gonna keep doing that, just a little bit at a time, and working it in really well. And what that's gonna do is bring the mixture more to a liquidy texture, and it's also going to start to bring up the temperature very gradually without the eggs coagulating too quickly. So I'm gonna use just a little bit more. This is kind of loose now, so I can kind of whisk while I put it in. We don't want this milk to be too hot. We just want this to go kind of gradually so we don't get a lot of lumps in here. I'm gonna whisk this pretty heartily so we keep the lumps out and get that sugar dissolved. Part of it is also that it's dissolving the sugar and dissolving the cornstarch in there. Bringing this all together. I'm gonna take a little bit more. You can go a little bit more this time since we're getting this mixture kind of liquidy. And you can see it starts to smooth out. It starts to lighten in color. It's looking pretty good. So I'm gonna keep that going. And this is tempering. This is the same process you'll use for puddings. It's the same process if you're making the custard base for an ice cream. You want to bring that temperature of the yolk up without cooking it. So we're gonna put maybe another big ladle in. And this milk is starting to simmer, so I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit on the milk because we don't want it to come past that simmer stage. Let's try this right-handed. I'm a little better with a whisk right-handed than I am left-handed. I'll whisk this in. So this is good. This bowl is starting to feel warm. We've brought the temperature up so that what we're then going to do, so I'm going to take a little bit of a longer handled whisk. And while I'm whisking this, I'm going to very, very gradually pour in this egg yolk mixture. Just a little bit at a time. Keeping it moving so that it doesn't coagulate too quickly. You'll get some foaming when you do this from the whisk, but that's okay. And you may even, depending on how hot your milk is, you may even start to get a thickening of that mixture because it's the heat that's kind of activating that cornstarch. Yeah, see, we're getting thickening already. So I'm going to go a little bit faster with this. And you don't want to be over high heat by any means at this point. You just want enough heat so that you can keep it smooth and get that. See how it's starting to thicken up? It's starting to be more of like a pudding consistency. I'm over pretty low heat right now, but we got up to that nice simmer, so it's got the perfect amount. So I'm going to turn my heat off right now and just keep whisking this because it will keep thickening. We've gotten it up to the right temperature. And it's kind of tricky. You might have a couple times making this where you go a little too far and it binds up a little too much, but that's okay. Learning is part of the process, so don't quit. Just eat the pudding and make it again. Okay, so this is a really nice texture. So what we're gonna do is we are going to put this mixture in our stand mixer here. And as our very last stage, look at, it's so nice looking and smells like wonderful vanilla. It's a little bit runny at this stage, but don't worry about that because it sets up a little bit more as it cools. So this is actually a perfect texture for this. Okay. So I am just going to put my little paddle on here, and what we're going to do is turn the mixer on, and it's going to keep this going and keep it smooth and start to cool it off. And then at the same time, we're going to put in little bit by little bit 2 tablespoons of butter, and that's going to smooth out the mixture and give it a really nice velvetyness to it. And this with the mixer going, it's going to help cool it off. So we're going to do that. So just a little bit at a time, maybe in 4 doses. We just want to beat in that butter. See all that steam coming off there? That's all we're bringing down the temperature so we keep that really nice texture. Don't put your mixer on a hot stove. This part of my stove is cool. Just had to get it all in the frame for you. I'll turn my mixer up just a smidge. We're almost done with our butter. Okay. So we have this very smooth, very velvety looking, smelling amazing pastry cream here. And our very last step, I'm gonna get a clean bowl. Woo, this bowl is hot. So I'm gonna put this custard in the clean bowl or whatever kind of container you wanna use, because we will chill this now. And get that all in there, nice and smooth. And then when puddings or things that involve hot milk cool off, they form what's kind of called a skin, which is kind of like a rubbery covering on the top. It is undesirable. So what we're going to do, and what you will do with puddings and the like, is take a piece of saran wrap, and I'm just going to fit it down right so that it's pressing all along the top of this pastry cream. And we're going to chill it in the refrigerator like that. And that will keep that skin from forming. It'll keep it nice and smooth and creamy. So you can refrigerate this. It needs to be in there at least an hour or two before you use it. You can use it, you can make this ahead, a few days ahead. It will last in the refrigerator up to 5 days covered. What you can do is, if you make this in advance and you go to use it and it's still kind of lumpy, you can just throw it in your mixer or use your hand mixer and just whip it up again, and it should get that smooth consistency. You can also whip cream, regular whipped cream, and then add either the whipped cream to this or this to some of the whipped cream to lighten the mixture and make it more fluffy, but it will still have that kind of more creamy, more vanilla flavor. And you can use it to fill cakes and cupcakes and squirt it on whatever you like. You can eat it with berries. You can eat it with just about anything. So it is delicious. And there you go, pastry cream.